ability to succeed. But that's not to say that there's other indicators here. We don't necessarily some of the extracurricular things. Say it is a student who is very interested in a STEM major in here, and they have done things during their high school curricula to say, okay, I want to go off and do this, but for whatever reason, the SAT score wasn't that great. So, in the last few years, there's been quite a discussion, debate about the SAT and ACT scores with respect to universities. And again, why do I spend time on this channel talking about the universities? Well, it's because it is where we train the next generation of scientists. So it matters actually quite a lot. And so we get into this and discussing this thing here. This SAT and ACT has been, if you've gone to college in the last few years, or have a child who's going to college, you've probably either had to prep them for this test or you've taken the test yourself or what have you. And it is a standardized test that is, and we'll get into that in a minute, designed to predict a bit of how well you will do in college. And different universities have their acceptance requirements, or what they would prefer to see, rather, in SAT and ACT scores for admittance to that university. And often it also varies by the departments. For example, the SAT includes a writing and sort of a reading comprehension and math section. Well, for a STEM discipline, they might actually put more emphasis on the math side and a little bit less on the writing side, or the things there, or similar kinds of things in the reverse for the social sciences or for English majors or for things along that line. So that is where we come into it, because in the last few years, of course, there has been considered points to try and say, well, no, shouldn't have the SAT or the ACT. It's keeping groups of students out because of X number of reasons, and we'll get into that in a minute. And now we're having the return of the SAT and the ACT, as a lot of UC faculty push for the return. This is the University of California pushing for the return, particularly of the math testing for STEM majors. We'll get into this in a little bit, but this comes from KPBS out of California. Hundreds of University of California faculty members are calling on the university system to require standardized math test scores from applicants to science, technology, engineering, and math or STEM majors. Nearly 1,000 faculty members have signed the open letter. More than 200 of them are from University of California, San Diego. The UC Board of Regents voted to eliminate the requirement in 2020. In the letter, the faculty call it, quote, a temporary measure that has now become a permanent vulnerability. We'll get to the letter in a minute, actually. I do have that pulled up here, too. Those who wanted to drop the requirement said students from wealthier families often have an advantage. That's because they can afford things like test prep and tutors, said Yolanda Copeland Morgan, who was UCLA's vice provost for enrollment at the time. Quote, students from under-resourced schools share textbooks, use broken Bunsen burners, and don't have test prep and can't afford tutoring, she told the board in 2020. But faculty members argue standardized tests ensure students get admitted to the right school for them within California's public university system. The SAT-ACT mathematics requirement is not an obstacle to equity. Rather, it is a prerequisite for it, they wrote in the letter. Failing to measure preparation gaps does not remove barriers, it moves them into the classroom, where they become harder to overcome. In November, a UC San Diego Academic Senate group reported that more and more students are taking remedial math courses. Now, if you were following this channel at the time, we covered that at the time, and it is actually really quite scary here, because you have students going into college in the UC system and in other systems that, excuse me, didn't even come in with middle school mathematics, which when you're going into a STEM discipline, oftentimes, even if you're not a math major, STEM disciplines, whether they be physics or chemistry or other STEM disciplines like meteorology or other particular related fields, they require a tremendous amount of calculus and differential equations and the like to learn. And so not being able to do the right mathematics here means you have to take time to go back and learn all the things you should have learned before you got to college. And so I can understand the concern, and it was very concerning seeing the numbers from that thing. So go back in history on this channel if you'd like to find that. I did cover that last November. They said admission staff are relying more heavily on high school grades and that COVID may have caused more grade inflation. Quote, we now observe preparation gaps so severe that instructors must reteach middle school mathematics while simultaneously teaching the materials needed for sciences, engineering, economics, and other quantitatively demanding fields, the letter said. In a statement, UC academic chair Ahmet Palazoglu, I think I said that right, I'm not sure, said faculty plan to work with the state and K 12 leaders on college readiness. Quote, in light of the concerns raised by UC faculty about student preparedness for undergraduate study, in March I called upon our statewide faculty board of admissions and relations with schools, BORS, to address timely topics tied to students' college readiness and the UC admissions process, Palazoglu wrote. BORS is in the process of proposing a roadmap of policy work and partnership building with other state and K 12 education leaders in the next academic year and beyond. UC faculty members noted other universities have reinstated SAT requirement. They include the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Stanford University, and Johns Hopkins University. This week, Yale announced it would require applicants to submit test scores starting with its next admissions cycle. So, and I would point out actually Yale, amongst others here, were also among universities that dropped the requirement for quite some time and seemed to find adverse effects from it. Now, the letter is linked off of here, so you can actually see it right here if you go this. And as always, this will be in the description of the video for you. And I encourage you to go read it. But this is actually, the article I just read is wrong because this actually gets updated on a regular basis. As you can see, as of the time of this recording, they have a bit over 1,100 faculty members who have signed the letter. And so I don't think I'm gonna read all of this, although this is fairly short, so we could probably read through all of this here. And they put in quite a collection of links and information here that would be relevant also as to support their position. We write to the UCT Regents, UCOP, Academic Senate leadership, and the people of California. We write as University of California mathematics faculty, joined by faculty from other STEM disciplines. UC has long served students from every background, and has been a powerful engine of social mobility for the people of California. That public trust must be protected for future generations. Today, UC's mission is at risk. To preserve that mission, we call for the reinstatement of the SAT-ACT mathematics requirement for applicants to STEM majors, beginning with the 2027 admission cycle. For those of you who don't know, the 2027 admission cycle would actually be this coming fall, so August of 2026, so that's the FY26, FY27 school year. Along with STEM faculty oversight and readiness of standards and admissions practices affecting those majors. Over the past 5 years, we've seen a widening divergence in mathematical preparation. So it was 5 years ago when the UC system dropped the SAT-ACT standard, if you recall from the other article. This trend indicates that current admissions practices do not provide a sufficiently reliable check on mathematical readiness for STEM majors. The UC San Diego Senate Administration Workgroup on Admissions report documents this crisis in stark terms. In the last 5 years, the number of students whose mathematics skills fall below high school level increased nearly 30-fold. Moreover, 70% of those students fall below middle school levels, reaching 1 in 12 members of the entering cohort. These findings are corroborated by data across our campuses. For example, 3 consecutive years, 20 to 30% of UC Berkeley first semester calculus students who participated in mathematical diagnostic testing displayed severe preparation deficits. Basic mathematical fluency is analogous to literacy. Without it, success in university level STEM becomes structurally unattainable for students. We now observe preparation gaps so severe that instructors must reteach middle school mathematics while simultaneously teaching the materials students need for sciences, engineering, economics, and other quantitatively demanding fields. UC has been a national leader in supporting under-resourced students to do well in mathematics. However, UC has finite resources and can only help so many students, and only when the preparation deficits they need to overcome are within reach. Furthermore, the widening spread between underprepared and well-prepared students creates polarized courses, weakening the foundation available to many students and making it harder to teach at a level required for advanced STEM work. UC is increasingly unable to provide its students with the education needed to become leaders in California's scientific, technological, and economic future. We're already seeing the warning signs: longer pathways through prerequisite material, reduced readiness for advanced coursework, and growing pressure to dilute quantitative rigor. Left unaddressed, these trends will lead to declining graduation rates, longer time to a degree, and reduced completion of STEM majors, with consequences for California's highly skilled STEM workforce. California's public higher education system is a coordinated pathway through community college, CSU, and UC that aligns students with the instruction best suited to their preparation. The current admission system is undermining the structure by admitting students directly into STEM UC programs without a reliable measure of whether or not they're prepared to succeed. This serves no one well. So that's actually it. That's the short part of the letter here. I don't know if I can scroll over to the side, but the there is actually on the side of this page here. It's kind of shrunk on my screen right now, so you guys can see the letter, the list of the professors who have signed. And this is actually really impressive what they've gotten so far. That 7 of the 9 University of California mathematics department's chairs have signed off on this as well. And it's not to say that the SAT doesn't have a lot of value. It does. There's a number of studies at this point that show that the SAT does have a lot of predicted power. Now, admittedly, I'm presuming the ACT does have something similar, or administered by slightly different groups. Are they? I'd have to check that and fact check me on that one. But 15% more high school power than high GPA alone. And this is actually here published study right here. But it does go, the College Board is very much connected to putting out the ACT. So you can see certain things with that. And this also comes in with international research in here too. So for STEM majors, it's actually even more predictive power than just GPA alone. And that's not the only one that does that. There are other studies that point to the predictive power of SAT and ACT scores when it comes to academic success in universities. So this is another newer one. This is a couple of years old now, from 2024, but Opportunity Insight found that standardized test scores such as ACT and ACT scores are more predictive of academic success in Ivy plus colleges than high school grades. There's also some data in I think it's in this one actually, that in one of these in here, that shows that the SAT is also predictive of whether or not a student continues on into their second year of college. It's particularly predictive of the first year, but also continuing on into the second year. So what to make of this? Do I think, my own opinion, yes, the SAT and the ACT should be used as one tool for measuring the readiness of students. And I say one tool because while it's a standardized test and it is very good at prediction, it's not perfect in here, and neither is the GPA perfect, particularly if it's coming from a school where there's an awful lot of grade inflation in here. And, then a GPA doesn't necessarily mean much for a student's ability to succeed. But that's not to say that there's other indicators here. We don't necessarily, some of the extracurricular things, say it is a student who is very interested in a STEM major in here, and they have done things during their high school curricula to say, okay, I want to go off and do this, but for whatever reason, the SAT score wasn't that great. Well, then maybe that's a chance you give to those students. Maybe so. It should not necessarily be based on fluff pieces and what have you, written with personal statements and the like. But you do need some serious testing in here. And I know the UC Berkeley system has their diagnostic testing that they do with students when they arrive. I think a couple of the others in the UC system and other universities are thinking of that too, because it is a good way to help measure whether or not a student can be successful at the university that they want to go to. And that's actually a good thing. You don't necessarily want students to fail when they go into a university, right? You want them to succeed. It's just that they may not be prepared for as rigorous as that university is compared to another program where there can be the time spent to help with the preparation gap more so than the UC system. It's not to say students are great. I know an awful lot of students who, didn't do necessarily as well in the ACT and what have you, and, ended up being bloody freaking brilliant students. Absolutely brilliant. Doesn't mean you can't get there. Doesn't mean you couldn't go into a STEM field and things like that. But there needs to be an understanding between the faculty and the students trying to attend what the gap is that the faculty need to prepare for. Or if it's appropriate to be at that university, knowing that maybe the faculty don't have as much time. Finite resources are a thing. All the professors have only so much time they can devote to this. All the TAs have only so much time they can devote to it. It's not to say they don't want to, they absolutely do. It's very obvious there. But if it's going to be easier for a student to be successful at a different university, then that's a good thing for them to find. So wherever you think on that, that is my sort of sentiment with it. I encourage you to read the letter, to think about it, to go looking around, and as always, respectful commentary is appreciated. Excuse me, on the channel here. But I certainly found this interesting to see that a lot of the UC system professors are now pushing back on the on the decision made by the Board of Regents in 6 years, actually, really, but depending on when it was in the year. I don't know when it was in the year when they did that, but anyway, it could be 5, it could be 6. But because of that, it could have been last fall it could have been the fall of 2020 at some point when that decision was made. But anyway, that would be my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts. I think actually the SAT and the ACC is a critical thing, but it should not be the only thing by which we judge a student, and that's certainly not what they're suggesting in their letter necessarily, but it should not be the only thing by which we judge a student. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button on the way out, and subscribe to the channel, share the video, all those lovely good jazz, and if you like it, of course, like the video. Until next time, I'm Adrian. May you stay curious.